Good?
Yep, you're all set.
So I'm Rob Akins. It's nice to be with you here this morning. I am the director for the PDC's Professional Development Corps and a number of other ways I support the Junior Investigators Network. And I'm going to talk about the 2025 last year, and especially how it's impacted the JIN. And I hope you can see my slides. I do want to mention that I'm not going to talk about most of the successes. We're having our celebratory dinner next week, which maybe is one of the things that's in the chat, which I can't see. But as a reminder, on Thursday, the JIN Care dinner is being held. So I hope you can see my slides, and I'm just going to bite the bullet for the first slide and admit something everybody knows. It was not a great year for NIH-funded research. And I think you guys know these things, and I'm happy to talk about kind of what's going on at NIH. But as of November, there's been a bunch of unspent funds that were kind of scraped back by NIH. The NIH director had resigned. There were tons of positions that were cut, and funding cuts that were announced that may or may not be possible for them to do. More than 18%, CDER is drugs, CBER is biologics. FDA employees were fired or quit. And CDER itself had 5 different directors over 2025. So it has been rocky, to say the least, including directly impacting some people in the JIN, or kind of are, the people who are still in the JIN but are now mid-career having grants terminated. So that's not good. So I just want to admit that I can't really do a summary of 2025 for how it's impacted junior investigators in our state without at least touching on these things. There is litigation. Some agencies have reinstated grants. Congress has actually made some statements about federal funding. And in June, there was a federal ruling from a federal court that the NIH grant terminations, hundreds of them, were illegal. And then in August, the Government Accountability Office, GAO, which is nonpartisan and still, declared that NIH violated what's called the Impoundment Control Act by withholding funds and terminating grants. So there's still hope for what the budget might look like for 26 and going forward, but it's going to be rocky, and I just want to admit that. And happy to talk about that if anyone wants to discuss it. I will say, though, for the JIN, our support, we did okay. There were delays, and this is my estimation, but the non-competing renewal for the Excel program was delayed, but we got it. Not every state, not every program was fully refunded. So I know it's not, I mean, it sounds a little like schadenfreude that we weren't hurt as badly as other people, but we did okay. We got the money. There's a lot of challenges getting the money pushed out and trying to accommodate the new rules that we have to follow. But we also got so that's the non-competing renewal. But that was a continuation of the grant. We got 2 competing renewals that were not at all clear how that was going to work when we started 2025. It's pediatrics and Nemours primarily, but the ECHO Idea States Pediatric Clinical Trials Network was fully funded. There were some changes in organization and a little bit of change in some focus areas, but it was funded, and the Delaware site was funded. And the competing renewal, which was huge for the Delaware INBRE, that's a 5-year renewal, was fully funded. So that's all good news. And the JIN is supported primarily by the CTR and the INBRE, and indirectly by the ISP CTN. So that's great. And especially for the INBRE, we did celebrate. This is there were celebrations, I think, at most of the sites, including a main one down at UD that I couldn't find a picture for. This is part of the people that were at the celebration at Nemours. And one person I do want to call is Julianne, who handled the JIN for most of the year. And according to something I heard yesterday, she's only been gone for a couple of months. But it seems like longer. So Julianne is right there in the middle. She was out on maternity leave. And I'm proud to say, if you haven't seen pictures of Luna yet, this is the newest member of the JIN family. That's Julianne's baby, Luna. So we're looking forward to Julianne coming back. I hope tomorrow, but I think it's actually February. and rejoining us. But I think in general, we have to look back and think for the network, we're doing okay. And then the foundational pieces are still here. We're able to move forward. There's been quite a lot of work by INBRE, and I know Lydia's on, and Melinda and Dawn and everybody at the INBRE office and the CTR office to just push things through and continue to support junior investigators. And I think we should all be very appreciative of that. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and again, there were lots of successes. Please come to the JIN Care dinner. And I know the registration is closed, but if you registered, please come. If you didn't, if you could reach out to Aaron, I think Aaron, and see if there's availability still. One of the things I wanted to talk about is that we have been, over the course of the year, and we do this periodically, probing and asking the investigators, kind of how can we help? What's going on? How are things going? There was at the last JIN Care, in every JIN Care, we do focus groups and surveys. So there's a draft report that will be finalized, and I hope this isn't too small, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about is challenges that were identified by network members in accessing PDC's professional development core. So we were specifically talking about distinct resources, but the number one reason, which a little bit surprised me, was time. 46% of individuals basically told us they wanted to use resources, but they didn't have time to use it because of their schedule, competing responsibilities, just time in general. The thing that would usually pop up, and the thing that's hard for us to address, by the way, at different institutions, although all the institutions are trying to relieve as much pressure as they can on investigators. It's hard to do. There's a lot of things that we need investigators to work on, but we have to chunk that away. If almost half of the people in our network aren't using the network resources because they don't have time, we really have to focus on that. The other part, and the one that I was expecting to be higher, was this unaware programs. And I want to do a better job with outreach for the JIN, making sure that people are aware what's available, how they can access it. This group actually does a great job this Thursday meeting, but there's other ways that we can reach out to people. And there were some interesting ones. And we have, this is all blinded, like we have no idea who said these things. There was a 2%, and I forget what the N was here, that my workplace culture is not supportive. That sounds not good, but we're not sure who that is or even what institution that came from. So there are some people that we're not addressing their needs, and we can work on that. But the big thing for 26 is we hear you. We're going to try to work on how to relieve some of the time pressure and at least make our systems more efficient, and do more outreach, do better with outreach. And that's there's other surveys, and I did underline surveys, and thank you for your tolerance. There are different subgroups that we've been asking questions to. But the other thing is just getting a handle on what the burden really looks like. So this is a subset of investigators, and it's not just JIN members. These are PIs that we asked about how many hours a week do they spend in administrative related meetings and huddles. And this, depending on how you slice this data, this is between 9 and 10 hours a week, which again, the denominator is hard, like the comparative number is hard, but at least in the groups I talk to at other institutions, that's a high number. So we have to figure out how to be way more efficient and cut the amount of time. And if you just think about someone who's working a 40-hour, or don't just think about the fact that you're spending 10 hours a week, and that's across the entire year. If you could just cut that in half, that's about the amount of time you would need to write a new grant. So if you could get down to 5, which is not easy, but you might be able to do it and give that time back to individuals, you could substantially increase the ability for people to write grants. It takes the data that are out there, the studies that are out there, it takes up to 200 hours, depending on the grant. But roughly, we usually use about 200 hours to write a grant from when you start, and that's the PI's time. So if you can scrape back enough time to allow people to submit more grants, which is really part of what people need to do now that funding is more called. That's how you still compete in the game, that we go a long way to improving the success for our investigators and our institutions. The JIN's also been very successful, and I'm going to highlight, I don't want to go over too much, Aaron, because I know I don't know when I started, but I do want to talk about the JIN itself is doing well. We have great responses. There's a lot of participation. There's a lot of interest from junior investigators. And I want to, since we're in this call, I want to highlight this call. So this is my rough estimate number, Aaron. So we had in 2025, we had 50 meetings. I think that's correct. I do know that there were 119 unique attendees that attended over time, and then the average attendance across the whole year, and that includes when holiday times and sometimes in summer we have low attendance, is 19. The top viewed recording was posted in February. And that's Abbas Saidi, who's, I'm not sure if he's on today. So that was from February of 2025. So I have a little game that I'm going to end with. I don't know how to do a poll, but I just want people to guess, well, how many views? Don't go look. That would be cheating. How many views since February do you think the top JIN YouTube video has gotten? I'm just curious if a few, oh, I can't see the chat. So if you can tell me if anybody's putting numbers in the chat, Aaron. I don't want to wait too long. I will tell you, second and third were me and Megan, two different people talking about money and how to get money and how to apply for grants. But we got smoked. This recording got far more views.
We have one guess so far, 10,000.
One?
Anyone else want to guess? And just to say that Megan's is pretty impressive considering hers was just done in December.
Yeah.
2,500.
You guys are in the ballpark. All right, I don't want to wait too long. So it's an impressive number given the size of our group. But Abbas has got 4,500, when I looked, 4,502 views of his video. And that is, I don't know where that ranks. It is the most in a single year. I think we've had videos over time that have gotten more, but that's pretty high number. And there were quite a few videos that were highly viewed. So one of the things I want to make sure that we publicize this, and I'm telling you guys to help me do that these videos are available, to make sure that junior investigators or any investigator who wants to can get a recording done by coming to the meeting, and that we can push these things out so that more people can view them. So congratulations to Abbas. I think the Investigators Network, and again, happy to talk about this, is doing fairly well in an environment that's not super stable. And if there's any way that we can improve how we're supporting you all, please let us know. But thank you very much. It's been overall, I think, a great 2025.